1985, I started studying how relationships affect kids and how kids affect relationships, and trying to see how that whole system works together. And it turns out, then, one of the things I'll try to convince you of tonight is that it's all of the same fabric. I mean, the way you relate to one another, the way you relate to your kids, the way your kids relate to you, the way your kids relate to other kids, it's all like it's made of the same quilt. And if you're working on one, then you're actually working on all of it together. Now, if you think about kids and you want to predict how a kid is going to turn out as an adult, maybe you've got a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old, and you're curious about, or a kid in school, and you want to know, what information should I collect to find out how this kid's going to be when the kid grows up? The interesting thing is it's not IQ, it's not achievement test, it's not even SAT scores or graduate record exam scores that will predict how the kid will turn out. It's actually how the kid gets along with other children. You know, what this kid is like socially. And what this kid is like socially is going to depend a lot on how you relate to your kid and how you treat your kid. So we'll talk about that. Now, I also started off in the very beginning when I was a beginning professor, curious about how kids make friends. And I just kind of assumed that psychologists would know that. And turned out they didn't know that. And we had to actually observe and see how kids make friends and what they're like with their best friends. And we studied that from age 3 all the way through college and adulthood about friendship, because best friendship and how kids make friends and how we treat friends is a very important part of our family life and our community life. And so we're interested in how all of these systems work together, all these social systems work together. And you've heard about emotional intelligence, and I'm going to be talking to you about some of that tonight. Initially, I was also interested in studying kids and marriages because I was curious about whether there was anything that parents could do if they weren't getting along, right, with one another, and they were fighting with one another, to buffer their kids from the conflict. Now, we found that we could actually measure how parents were getting along in 2 ways. We could either ask them how happy they were, or how much conflict they were having, or we could take a 24-hour urine sample from their kids and measure how many stress hormones, particularly adrenaline, was getting secreted in the children's bodies. So if you're fighting, your kids are secreting adrenaline. And if they're secreting adrenaline because they're stressed out, one of the things that happens to them is that the first and most sensitive system to reflect this stress is the attentional system. The kid's ability to focus attention, the kid's ability to shift attention when they want to, and the kid's ability to sustain attention. And part of what we're seeing in all of this diagnosis of hyperactivity is in part a reflection of increased family stress, increased stress between parents. So the attentional system is really a very sensitive indicator of whether kids are stressed out. So one thing I was very interested in was, is there anything we can do if there is an ailing relationship between parents to buffer kids from that